So something I do in all my classes, especially in the pre-storytelling phase, but also during the storytelling phase, is called orbiting. Orbiting is simply asking repetitive questions around a statement. And we'll look at this in the slideshow in a little bit, but it goes something like this. I'll start with a statement like, I am sad. It's a very simple statement. I am sad. And from this statement, we're simply going to ask questions around the statement. We're simply going to ask questions around that statement. So, I am sad. Am I sad? It's a tangent question to the statement. Am I sad? I am sad. Am I sad or am I happy? I'm sad. Am I happy? These are the kinds of questions we can ask that orbit a statement, and eventually these questions can propel us to a new statement, and we can use that statement as the one we are going to ask our tangent questions to. I want to give us an intro to orbiting. Some people call this circling. I prefer the term orbiting, but it's really a semantic difference, not that important. Orbiting is just simply asking questions around a statement. That's all it is. And this is an essential ingredient to CI storytelling. Once we have a statement that we want to orbit, we can ask questions about that statement and change orbit by asking questions around that, using the gravity of the statement to slingshot us to the next statement by using these questions. These questions are like a rocket ship that, when we ask enough questions and we ask them in the right order, they can propel us to our next statement where we can orbit, ask questions. The point is to get as many repetitions as possible using questions and statements in such a way that it propels us and continues the flow of CI. So what are the types of orbiting questions? Well, there are questions that have a yes answer, and I represent that with a plus sign. So whenever you see a plus sign here, that means that this is a question with a yes answer, an affirmative answer. Questions with a no answer are represented with a negative sign, negative answer, negative. An either or question is represented by an O. An either or question has either this or this as their answer. Am I a dog or am I a professor? Am I a glass of water or am I a person? The last kind of question we can ask is a W question. Those are who, what, when, why, where, and how. These are the different kinds of questions we can ask when we are orbiting, and we're going to use these questions on our first day of class. Let's start with a sentence. Very simple. I am sad. Now this is our target sentence. This is the only sentence we have to worry about teaching in this orbiting session. There are different kinds of questions we can ask. Our target statement is I am sad. Let's ask an affirmative question. A question with an affirmative answer. Am I sad? So our target statement, I am sad. One question we could ask is, am I sad? Now, of course, the answer to this is yes, because that's our target statement. I am sad. That's the information that the learners have. And so that is the correct answer to that question. I am sad, target statement. Am I sad? Yes. You should cue learners to answer you out loud in the target language. Am I sad? Yes. A negative question. Am I happy? Now you might have to teach the word happy. It's possible that learners don't know the word happy, but this is simple. Once we have established meaning of I am sad, and they know what sad means, you can add happy, and with something as simple as facial expressions, you can teach learners this vocabulary in context. Am I happy? Big smile on my face. No, not happy. I am sad. Am I sad or angry? This is an either or question, and students here, instead of answering with yes or no, will answer with sad or angry. Am I sad or angry? Sad. How am I doing? How am I? That's one possible question we could ask here. that could drive us to another statement. Who is sad is another possible question. Why am I sad? Let's pretend that I use why am I sad as a question that will drive us to the next statement. I want an elephant. I am sad. Am I sad? Yes. Am I happy? No. Am I sad or angry? Sad. Why am I sad? I want an elephant. Now, this is our new target statement, and we're going to use this target statement. Once meaning has been established, we know that I want an elephant. And once that meaning has been established, we can start doing the same process of asking orbiting questions, circular questions, tangent questions to the target statement. Do I want an elephant? Yes. Do I want a giraffe? No. Do I want an elephant or do I want a crocodile? Either or. An elephant. What do I want is a possible question here. Who wants an elephant is another possible question. Why do I want an elephant? We're going to move on to another target statement. I do not have an elephant. Again, we have orbiting questions, questions that will go around this target statement. And once we have established meaning, we can get more comprehensible repetitions by simply asking questions about this statement. I do not have an elephant. Do I have an elephant? No. Notice that I'm not going in the same order every single time in terms of a question with an affirmative answer, a question with a negative answer, an either or question. Mixing this up is critical for learners because they'll start to guess your pattern. Once they guess your pattern, they're no longer processing the language. Make sure that they are processing by mixing up this order, making it hard to guess which question you're going to ask next. Do I have an elephant? No. Do I want an elephant? Yes. Notice how I've changed the question slightly also. I've changed verbs. And you can do this with any part of the sentence. Do I have an elephant? Do you have an elephant? Circling the subject. Do I have an elephant or do I want an elephant? Circling the verb. Do I have an elephant or do you have an elephant? Which is a change in the subject. Do I have an elephant or do I want an elephant? Which is a change in the verb. Do I have an elephant or do I have a dog? Which is a change in the object. So changing any parts of that is another way to add repetition and come at this from a different angle. So when we're orbiting, we always want to come at things from a new angle because the target sentence is the thing we're orbiting around. The more questions that you can ask and the different kinds of questions you can ask, the better your orbiting is going to be. Do I want an elephant or do I have an elephant? An either or question. So we've switched up the order, we've switched up the verb that we're using, and that is how we're comparing in this way. We're focusing in on the verb in this case. Who does not have an elephant? Now we've changed from orbiting the verb to orbiting the subject. So even within a single set of questions, you can change between orbiting a subject, a verb, an object, and that will keep things fresh for learners. Why am I sad? This is a question that we can answer based on the other information we've gathered so far. Why am I sad? Well, I am sad because I want an elephant, but do not have an elephant. So we've put together these three sets of orbiting questions, and now we have a new target statement that's very complex. I am sad because I want an elephant, but I do not have an elephant. So altogether, we have a really complex sentence that has been built up in just a short amount of time. The more you can do this, make complicated sentences from smaller pieces using orbiting, the better off your students are going to be. They're going to see these more complex examples, but they'll be comprehensible to them because you have broken them down using this orbiting technique. I really, really love this Fibonacci sequence here because it captures for me the idea of orbiting. We start in the middle and we spiral our way outward, ever increasing the amount of vocabulary and input that we can include in our orbiting. So things become more complex over time. The circles get bigger and bigger. The amount of orbiting we can do can get bigger over time. But it starts with these little tiny circles in the middle that then spiral outward. Moving on. Do I want a big elephant or a small elephant? Now we have a lot of information. I am sad because I want an elephant, but I don't have an elephant. And now we can include adjectives. Do I want a big elephant or a small elephant? So making this even more complex, adding even more information as we spiral outward in our orbiting. Orbiting questions about a new statement. I want a small elephant. Do I want a small elephant? Yes. Do I want a big elephant? No. Do I want a big elephant or a small elephant? Who wants a small elephant? What do I want? Why do I want a small elephant? And let's take that one. Why do I want a small elephant? I want a small elephant because I have a small house. At this point, we've included information about an elephant, but now we've also added an element about a house. And we can talk about small houses, small elephants. Big and small are now part of our vocabulary. That is fair game for storytelling. We'll take a deep dive on orbiting in lesson 3 when we are telling the story. Orbiting is perhaps the most important piece for CI storytelling, and now you have a basic understanding of how to do this, and you can incorporate it in your classroom right away. If you're going to pick one thing to incorporate from CI storytelling, it has to be orbiting, or as some people call it, circling. This is the critical building block for storytelling. Without this, it falls apart. It becomes much more difficult to tell stories that are comprehensible at a high level for learners. I recommend that you practice this a lot, and one way to do so is in front of the mirror. Come up with some sentences that you want to circle, and practice going through the different types of questions. The affirmative answer, the negative answer, the either or, and then the open-ended W question. Who, what, when, why, where.